Hi everyone, Kelly O here today in the Swee Lee studio, and today we're looking at the Boss Katana 100 amplifier. Now this is going to be a little bit different from most demos because most of the time when you see folks demoing things on YouTube or wherever, it's the first time they've ever played a guitar or an amplifier. But actually not knowing I was going to be doing this particular demonstration, I went out about 2 months ago and plunked down my own hard-earned cash for this exact model of amplifier. And I've since been gigging it and jamming at a number of venues around town. So a lot of what I'm going to tell you today comes from the benefit of using it in a performance situation. Now today the guitar is a 1974 Fender Stratocaster, not a reissue, the real thing. My mom and dad loaned me the money to buy this quite a while ago. You can't buy this particular guitar obviously, but if you would like to have something similar, you like the sound of the underwound pickups as you hear the demo and like the look of that great big headstock, you can certainly talk to the folks at Swee Lee and they can order you one in. The Fender Custom Shop does make 74 reissues. Okay, on to the Boss Katana 100. First thing that's quite interesting is I jammed this at one of the louder venues in town about 4 weeks ago, and 3 of the guys in the band were from Japan, and they looked at the character on the front and said, Katana. So in Japanese it's pronounced katana, not katana. The rest of us say katana, but there you go, Japanese pronunciation lesson for you. The Katana 100 is basically a solid-state emulation amp, but unlike a lot of emulation amps, it's not really designed to emulate specific amplifier models, but more types of circuit and types of amplifiers. And in this case, we've got several different settings, and I'm just going to take you through them. The first is an acoustic amplifier, and you would use that with an acoustic guitar. So it's very clean sound, sounds something like this. So, pretty straightforward. It would sound much better with an acoustic guitar because that's what it's designed to be used with. The next one is a clean sound, and to my ears at least, this sounds to me like an American twin speaker 100-watt amp. Pretty cool sound, especially when it's cranked up a bit. Although it says clean, it's not a clean sound, it's a clean style of amplifier, so it sounds like this. Okay. The next one is a setting called crunch, and to me this sounds slightly plexy, if you will. You get the idea. The next one is a setting called lead, and this sounds to me like a big hair 80s amplifier. Now note, I haven't got any effects running through this thing at the moment, and it's basically just the channels exactly as they are designed without anything added to it. So that's the natural sound of the channel. And then finally the last one is what they call the Brown sound, which to me recalls a certain shredder from the late 1970s by the name of Eddie, but actually is based on Boss's own Waza amplifier circuit. So it's pretty brown. Pretty cool, eh? So let's now take a look at the various circuitry and sort of the controls that we have here. The controls across the top are pretty much what you would expect. We've got a gain and a volume structure in the top at the front end, and then we have classic bass, middle, and treble controls, and they do exactly as you would expect. What then gets interesting though is you move on to the effects section, and you'll see that there's 3 controls there, and each of those controls does a different thing. So what we have as the first control is a booster modification circuit. And basically if you turn the control to the left, what you've got is 3 different boosters. So the first one is actually a Boss Blues driver, which will sound something like this through the clean channel, okay? So. Okay, the next one, if we just hit the little switch on the top, it goes from the color green to the color red. That becomes an overdrive circuit. So it's that much dirtier. And then the last one, if we go to the yellow setting, gives us a full-blown distortion. Okay, you get the idea. Now, if you pivot that same control the other direction, it becomes something quite different, and it becomes a modulation setup. So the first one here is actually a chorus. What a great sound. The next one, the red one, is actually a flanger. And then the yellow setting on that same control is a phase shifter. Okay, so a really cool feature of the Katana 100 or any of the Katana amplifiers actually in the series is the ability to pre-program and set up any sound you want and then save it to the memory. The Katana 100 actually has 4 channels where you can save to memory, plus one they call panel, which is where you can basically just change the sound right on the panel. So that essentially gives you 5 different sounds at the flick of a button, or if you buy the optional foot switch, the foot switch that sits on the floor. So my home sound when I'm playing with any number of bands around town is essentially a clean amplifier setting, and I put in a little bit of a Boss blues driver, the emulated blues driver, and a little bit of reverb, and that's all it is. So that allows me to play a simple kind of Albert Collins blues. Because most of the time I'm the rhythm guitar player, right? Or I can do, you know, kind of poppy stuff. It's a very tubey, warm sound. So that's kind of my home sound. I probably spend 70 to 75% of the time on that particular sound. If I need something a little dirtier, what I do is I move over to the presets on channel 1. And what I did there is I went in with the Boss software in my Macintosh, and I replaced one of the overdrives with a tube screamer, because I really like that sound. Still through a clean amp, so it's like an American style amp, but this time it's got a tube screamer on it, which gives you kind of a Stevie Ray Vaughan sound, I think. How cool is that? Right? So that's just a tube screamer emulated through a clean amplifier. So I really like that sound a lot. Now at times, one of the bands I'm in plays some kind of early 70s psychedelia, and so we need kind of a psychedelic sound from the dark side of wherever, and so we get a sound like this. So as you can hear there, all that is a crunch amplifier with a bit of univibe, and we also have a bit of delay on that as well to give it that kind of spacey sound. Now the interesting thing is the univibe, the Boss univibes, to me sound better than the real thing. I've had optical univibes, but the digital ones, and I've had Boss digital ones previously, and the one built into this amplifier sound absolutely excellent. They seem to be just a little bit cleaner somehow than an actual univibe, so that's a great one. Now the next sound we use a little bit is sometimes I need kind of a purple sound for lack of a better term. Might sound like this. Okay, and all that is the crunch amplifier with a little bit of chorus and a little bit of reverb. You can tell I'm not a big effects guy. It's pretty much straightforward in terms of the way I play it. And then finally, the last channel, channel 4 here, the preset on that one, essentially it's just a crunch amp with a bit of phaser to give me kind of a beastly sound, which sounds like this. So having just told you there's a 50-watt variation, and I've never had this particular amplifier louder than 50 watts, why did I buy the 100-watt version? A couple of reasons for it. Number one, this particular version has 4 presets instead of 2, which is quite handy in a gigging situation because you have 4 presets you can go to and you don't have to mess around with controls, which I really like. The other thing is it has an emulated line out the back, which is kind of a hidden feature. You'd have to come around back here to see it. Sound guys love that. It sounds great. You run it straight into the PA, and it saves them having to mic the amplifier, and to my ears actually sounds better than a microphone. Now an added benefit of the Boss Katana series is they're super light. This one weighs under 15 kilos, and this is the 100-watt version. And to me that's quite important because most of the time when I'm going to a gig or a jam here in town, I'm either walking or I'm taking public transport and I have to go up and down stairs and escalators and that kind of stuff. So having an amp that weighs a little under 15 kilos to me is pretty important. So there you have it. That's the Boss Katana 100, also available in 50 watt and head versions. It gives you great tone, super versatile, easily loud enough for any stage you're ever going to be on, super easy to carry, and it's all available at a really amazing price. You can see why these things are just flying off the shelves at Swee Lee. Check it out at any Swee Lee location or at sweelee.com.sg. This has been Kelly O for Swee Lee. See you next time, and take care.